All right, it is April 4th, 2020. My name is Felicia Castellanos. I'm a student at Texas Women University Denton campus. I am here with my sister Felicia Castellanos. I guess where do you live?
Right now, I currently live in Reynoldsburg, Ohio.
Reynoldsburg, Ohio. And what do you do for what is your job?
So right now, I work in retail distribution.
Okay.
My title is a group lead. So right now, all I do is help with the day-to-day operation in a warehouse,
Okay.
a retail warehouse.
Ooh, retail. Okay. And would you consider that like an essential job? Essentially, what we're calling essential jobs these days.
Right now, given the state of things, considering that about 75% of the warehouses here are, distribution, they do consider it an essential business because we deal with footwear. We deal with various types of footwear.
Okay.
They are remaining open. The stores are not open, the actual retail stores, but the online presence is still very active. So we're still shipping out on a daily basis,
Okay.
shoes. We're still taking orders and we're still shipping them out like it's any other day.
Okay, cool. And I guess besides that, oh, let me get my questions out really quick. I guess since you do work in a warehouse, and I'm pretty sure, do you work with a lot of people in one area, or is everybody dispersed evenly? Essentially, maintaining that social distancing that we're having to maintain now.
I would say majority of the time we do pretty much keep a, a relatively good distance from each other, even if it wasn't during this whole COVID-19 thing, because it is a big warehouse. Generally speaking, I think on the floor we have 75 people, 75 to 100 people in a given amount of space. I think 100 would probably like max out like at peak season, and we're able to usually 9 times out of 10 we can keep our distance even on a normal day. So this hasn't really been that big of a problem as far as maintaining social distance.
Okay. And with your job working in a warehouse, like how are you all preparing your like what's the like PPE essentially? What are some of the protocols that you all are taking within that warehouse?
Right now, well, I've been on leave for the past couple weeks, so whether that's changed, I'm not 100% sure. But prior to me taking like a leave of absence and taking some vacation time, they did put hand washing stations out and sanitizer stations between different areas, basically where every close to where all the fire extinguishers
Okay.
are right in the same area, so they're in really close proximity to everybody. They've given out Clorox disinfecting wipes for us so we can, clean off our equipment and our stations before and after every shift, every break, anytime that we needed them. So they're like readily available. They did, yes, they did start taking our temperature. From my understanding, I haven't had to go in during that time. Like I said, I've been on leave, but from my knowledge, they started taking their temperature before the shift, and if it reached a certain point that they were not allowed into the building, then they had to take a certain amount of time off
Okay.
until they were.
Okay. Now, I guess since you mentioned that they're taking temperatures, how like who's taking the temperature? Is it an actual like registered nurse that they've brought into the building, or is it just like a random like manager or like supervisor that's doing it?
My understanding, it was a person from HR. Whether they've been able to access a registered nurse, given the state of things, I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, when they started taking the
Okay.
temperature, I was still on leave, so I don't know who exactly is doing it at
Okay.
this time.
Okay. Cool. Now, I guess since you mentioned that you were like you've been on a leave of absence, at that at your current employment, I guess essentially, do you feel protected? Do you feel safe in that at that warehouse, or when you go back to that warehouse?
I mean, I would say I would feel pretty safe. I mean, I'm fairly confident in my coworkers and their practice of personal hygiene. I know that they stay relatively clean as far as washing their hands frequently, not touching their face, and they continuously clean their equipment throughout the day to make sure that if they comes into contact with anybody else, that they're well protected. So, I mean, I would say I feel pretty well safe, and I know that people, when they do get sick, they know what precautions to take and to mind their distance.
Okay, cool. Now, I guess for you, what are some of the precautions that you've taken to essentially stay safe, not just at work but at home?
I mean, just washing my hands a few more times than normal. I know that when you know John, uh, my fiance and I come home from whether we're going out for groceries or if we just gotten home from work, we generally will take off the clothes that we're wearing and we'll go ahead and either in get a clean set of clothes and shower and get that all just to make sure that nothing is clinging onto us, just to make sure.
Okay.
Um, and we'll usually minimize the amount of time we let the kids out into a public area. Like as of right now, the kids haven't gone to a grocery store in probably about a month.
Ooh, okay. Wow. Now, I guess how have you prepared your kids for this?
I don't think it's really. I mean, as far as preparing them, I
Like
mean,
how
there's
did
nothing
you
really.
how did you explain this like the COVID-19 crisis to them?
Um, it's been kind of a process. I mean, they've understood that there's been change going on, especially since, um, our oldest son Brody, he's in kindergarten. He hasn't been able to go to school in over a month. So, trying to explain to him, why he hasn't gone to school, has been kind of a slow thing. I
Okay.
mean, he knows that there's something out there. There's a virus that's making people sick, and that it can be passed on to other people very easily.
Mhm.
Um, he understands that sometimes people can get sick and die,
Mhm.
but I think past that, I don't think he really understands the impact that it's had on anything else besides his day-to-day activities. He can't go out to the park, he can't go to school, he can't see his friends. He doesn't know that there's a lot of people working hard now and that there's sometimes shortages of certain items, and why there's certain sort of shortages on like toilet paper and formula and water and stuff like that.
Okay. Now, since you do have a newborn, how has that affected, you caring for your newborn?
um I don't think it's really changed how I care for my newborn. I mean, I think I've been a little bit more cautious as far as not taking him to certain places like I do with the rest of them,
Mhm.
like my other two sons. He kind of lives life like normal. I mean, before we hold him, um, we don't have any visitors over like we did when he was first born. I think it's kind of more of a little bit more heightened. Like we're just a little bit more cautious on what we do around him.
Okay, cool. And like I know that there's been a shortage of diapers, formula, baby water, wipes, essentially. Like, has that affected you all? Has that affected you guys?
Um, Surprisingly, no.
Oh, nice.
Just because of who I am as an individual, I've been preparing for the baby for quite some time. I was buying diapers. I was buying diapers probably about 2 or 3 months into my pregnancy.
Okay.
So I was able to buy stuff throughout, 6, 7 months prior to him being born.
Okay.
So I wasn't having to worry about running out of stuff.
Okay.
Now with formula, it was a little different.
Mm,
I would buy probably enough to last me about 2 to 3 weeks at a time,
mm.
normally, so I haven't had to run out yet.
Okay.
Now water, on the other hand, because we use bottled, like, distilled water for him, that has been a little bit of a challenge. I wouldn't say impossible.
Okay.
um Sometimes I'll have to go to a different store because Kroger doesn't have any, or Aldi doesn't have anything that I need, or I'll go to 2 or 3 different stores before I find it and I'm able to purchase what I can.
Okay. Now, I guess being since we do come from a large family and stuff, and pretty much all everybody's there in Ohio, like everybody lives within almost like a driving distance, maybe like 10, 15 minutes apart from each other. Um, I guess
Mhm.
what's the hardest part of that of being from us coming from a big family?
Really just not being able to be close to them. I mean, it's been a little tough knowing that, we can't go over to mom's house when we want to. I know it's been hard on mom for sure because she hasn't been able to, see the kids and really hold the baby since he was probably about 2 weeks old. She
Mhm.
hasn't been able to hold him since then. Um, it's definitely taken a toll on her kind of emotionally.
Mhm.
Um, it's definitely been straining for it's been straining for me. I mean, but I mean, luckily we're kind of in an age where, face to face time, like how you and I have it, is, readily available. I
Mhm.
mean, anytime we want to see each other, it's right there. um I think it would probably be more difficult if it was, 10, 15 years ago when this technology wasn't as advanced.
Mhm. Okay. Now, I guess psychologically and mental wise, like you said that it kind of this pandemic, this crisis has kind of put a strain on you. Like what kind of strain has that caused on you and on your family?
I mean, it's just kind of like the constant worry of possibly being exposed just from going to work, really. I mean, John still goes to work every day. He goes Monday through Friday. He gets up at, 5 o'clock in the morning. He leaves at 5:30, and he's there. And you just kind of like, it's more of the not knowing who's infected and not knowing if you could potentially be exposed to a dangerous, infection, and possibly bringing it home to your family. That's the not knowing,
The
is
not
the
knowing.
what's incredibly um straining on the whole thing.
Okay.
It's straining on everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
and and like, kind of also what's mentally straining is being having to take on another role as not only a mother but as a teacher.
Okay.
We gotta take on a completely different task that, we're not familiar with. Like, I'm not a teacher.
Hmm.
I've never been able to teach anything in my entire life. And now I have to be a preschool and kindergarten teacher, and on top of that, being, a mother to a newborn and having to juggle all of that, and then eventually come the time where I'm going to have to go back to work and have to take on a complete another role on top of that, and just
Uh,
kind of keeping them all separate.
mhm.
And then at the same time, trying to keep a level head and trying to make sure that, it doesn't, you don't sacrifice one for the other and stuff. Trying to keep a good balance of them all.
Okay, cool. Now we hear about a lot about like self help, self health, like self care and all that stuff. What have you done for like self care for yourself?
For myself personally, I still go on bike rides whenever I can. If the weather permits it, even if it's like 40, 30 degrees outside, I'll layer up and go on bike rides. I've been fortunate enough that the CrossFit gym that I go to before it closed down because of the stay-at-home order that we have here in Ohio, um, they still offer, in-home like workouts. So we've been able to
Okay.
do those, and kind of it's been a big stress reliever. It's been helping me kind of keep my mind off things and kind of ease a little bit more of my anxiety because it's kind of been going through the roof lately.
Cool. Nice, nice. Now, oh man, I had a question and escaped. It went off my head. Now, you mentioned like the mandates, the stay-at-home mandates. Are there any other mandates or any other like I guess regulations that you now have to follow in the state of Ohio?
So the most recent one that doesn't go into effect until I believe Monday. So they just extended our stay at home order until the end of April.
Okay.
So essentially May 1st would be the, hopefully if all goes well, and they see a decline in the number of infected and more recoveries and less deaths and everything like that. Once they see that things are getting towards the end of the curve, or once they feel like it's peaked and kind of on the decline, then they'll probably release that stay-at-home order. But anyway, rambling on.
No, no, that's fine.
So
Just
they just extended the order.
yeah. No, that's cool.
They extended the order another month, and not much has changed. Other than they are beginning to limit the amount of people that are going to be in retail stores, essential stores like Kroger, Giant Eagle, and stuff like that, Target. They're going to start limiting the amount of people that are allowed in at one time.
Mhm.
Right now, it's just a suggestion. They're telling the retailers that they need to think about how many people can be left or be allowed in the store at one time and maintain, 6 to 10 feet apart. I just went to the store today to get a few things, and from what I could see, everybody was able to maintain social distance fairly well. I mean,
Okay.
I didn't have any issues going around the aisles. Um, what it's going to be like in the coming days and weeks has yet to be seen, because I mean, I went probably about 11:30 in the afternoon or 11:30 in the morning. So on a Saturday, it's kind of hard to tell on whether or not it's going to be busy.
Okay.
But there's also other options for people now, as far as getting their essential items. Like we do have at-home delivery for groceries, we have curbside pickup, and we have a lot of options to limit the amount of times or the ability to go into the store. So you don't have to go in there unless you absolutely have to.
Okay. Now, now, when you went to the store today, like, what were some of the observations that you made? Like, did you see people wearing gloves, masks? I know you talked about social distancing, but can you tell us a little bit more of like some of your observations that you saw? Like, were there like were the shelves readily available? Like, were there stuff missing, not missing? Stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I went to Kroger just down the road from our house, and
Mhm.
it's usually pretty busy. So I was kind of mentally preparing myself for not finding the things that I was looking for, and I was just looking for like Uncrustables for the kids and some waffles, kind of like stuff kind of to get us through the week because they've been like snacking like crazy.
Mhm.
But um, the things that I noticed, that the floor was marked on where people could stand to maintain social distance. So that was marked out for people. I noticed that a lot of the employees had some sort of like PPE or rim, like they had either a homemade face mask or they had like a surgical mask. Some had gloves, some didn't. There was employees cleaning off carts, like wiping them down with I'm assuming kind of an antibacterial, antiviral like cleaning solution. Um, as far as like the shelves and things that were in stock, some stuff was starting to get low, but they were currently in the process of stocking those items. Like there was always somebody in an aisle stocking stuff continuously. Like every aisle I went to, there was somebody stocking things. So there wasn't an issue for me getting anything that I needed. I mean, I was able to get what I wanted and then some.
Okay. No, nice. Now, you did say, or you did mention, I guess is going to be a follow-up question to, essentially you stating, taking the role on as teacher. How has that been? Like, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but can you explain it more? Like, I guess the process of your day for starting school and all that.
It's been interesting. There's good days and then there's bad days, and it all just kind of falls on Brody and Brennan and how they want to take on the day, and I just try my best to kind of play along with it. Usually we start the day with just getting out of bed and getting dressed and having our breakfast. During that time, I need my coffee. I gotta get coffee. If I don't have it, there's gonna be problems. And then also I'll get I'll get Blake the baby ready and then kind of feed him, and then usually that's probably about 8 or 9 o'clock. That's when we get started with our daily classroom activities. Luckily with Reynoldsburg City Schools, they were able to provide 2 weeks worth of work for them.
Okay.
They did provide 2 weeks worth of paperwork to do throughout the first portion of our school closure and everything, and then also gave us the websites that they use on a daily basis, so we were able to log into those too. Okay. So with Brody, for example, he'll do his paperwork first. It's usually about 3 or 4 pages of stuff. It's kindergarten, so he does some reading passage. He finds certain words. He does math work, and then he'll have an art project, and then he'll have his daily journal, and that's all his paperwork that he does for the day. Once he gets done with that, we'll take a break, because usually he's kind of like, I don't want to freaking do it. I don't want to do it. Let's take a break. We'll get a snack. We'll kind of do something with our bodies. We'll kind of move around. They'll usually play animal workout with the Echo Dot that we have. If you've never played that, you got to play that. That's pretty funny. But then he'll do his reading and his math, and then a couple other activities on his laptop, and then we'll take another break, and then if he wants to go on another educational site, he'll do that for a little bit. But it's usually no more than about 3 hours worth of work, kind of broken up, and then we'll just kind of call it a day.
Okay. Oh, nice. Now, I guess for the kids, how has the transition affected them? Like, if you don't mind me asking.
I think it's been a little tough for Brody, just because he's done so well in school and he enjoys it so much. He really misses his teacher. He made a lot of friends, and he can't see them for a while, and it's kind of like he wants to go back to school, and he's trying to understand why, but it's just hard. Mm-hmm. Like, he knows that he can't be near them right now.
Okay. Now, oh man, I guess you had mentioned also like some of the resources, like teachers are already like provided you guys with, like, I guess essentially 2 weeks worth of schoolwork, and essentially like the logins to, I guess, the websites that they use. Has there been any more sources that they've been able to offer you?
Yeah, they've given us tons of resources that we can go to. They've given us like a bunch of websites that could offer more reading material, math exercises, even social studies, and other little things that they can help kind of keep things fresh and exciting. I mean, I will say, everybody in the school district, everybody as far as his teachers, his kindergarten teacher has gone above and beyond what was expected for the kids. And honestly, like, they're usually they're usually easy to access to. Like if we have questions as parents, we can message them through the school app that they have. It's called like Class Dojo,
Oh, yeah.
and we can message her. We can message her, and then she's usually she responds back probably within an hour or so, because she has kids too, so she has to be a teacher at home and for school as well. um but yeah, I mean they've just gone way beyond what I was expecting it to be. I mean it's been rough, just being having to do just a little bit extra, but they've made it incredibly easy for us. They know not to expect so much. They're not expecting it to be just like school, because it isn't just like school.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a completely different, this is uncharted territory.
Yeah. Nice. Um, I guess my next question would be like, well, I guess going with the kids, like, would I be able to ask like the kids like a question or two just to get like their
Yeah.
perspective and record it? Okay, cool. Either Brody or Brennan, whoever's. I guess the
Let's
oldest
see.
one,
Let's see,
or
Brendan.
or
Oh,
whoever,
let's see, Brody.
whoever.
Let me see if Brody's okay. Hey, Brody. Brody. Come here, buddy. I want to ask you some questions. Brody first, then Brennan. Brody first. Here.
Thank you.
I didn't get it yet.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm doing the work. Thank you.
So, I'll get you in a minute. Okay, can you put your tablet down for a second? Hi, Theo Miguel.
Hi.
Hey, bud, how you doing?
Good.
He's gonna
Good.
ask you some questions.
Yeah. Ooh, nice. Cool. Can I ask you some questions?
What? What is it?
What? Just like your mom.
Don't be rude.
I'm having
Okay. Now, I guess my first question would be, do you miss school?
Yes.
Yes. What's one thing that you miss about school, or what are some things that you miss about school?
My teacher.
Your teacher, and what else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any friends that you miss at school? Yeah, you have a lot of friends. Okay. Now, do you?
Also,
What's that?
there's actually other friends that are in different classes that I love.
Okay, that's good.
And
That's awesome, bud.
we have to.
That's awesome. Now, I guess
And
how do you like going to school at home?
feels good.
It feels different. What's different about it?
I have different things to do.
Uh-huh.
And guess what? I get to do I finished Mrs. King's art challenge.
Oh wow.
That's my art teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I finished something yellow.
Oh, okay.
And that was super banana. It was super banana.
Cool.
I mean,
Now, do you understand why you can't go to school and why you have to go to school at home?
what?
Do you understand why you can't go to school and why you're at home?
Because we don't want to get germs everywhere.
That's okay. That's good. That's really good, bud. Awesome. And how do you feel about that?
Sad.
And what makes you sad about that?
Because we don't get to. Because we have to be apart.
In part, that is pretty sad, bud. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that, bud. I'm sorry to hear that.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I hopefully soon you get to go back to school. See your friends and your teacher, bud. I really do hope and wish that for you. All right. All right. Thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Say thank you, love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too, bud.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Awesome.
You can go back.
Asking him some nice questions.
Yes, you did very good. Thank you, son. All right, come here. He's gonna ask you some questions. This one's gonna be interesting, okay?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine with me. That's fine with me. Oh my! What's your name, crazy one? Alrighty,
Okay.
cool. Can
I
I?
thought you was gonna ask you.
What?
Hey, bud. Can I ask you some questions? Yeah. You,
Yeah.
you can give me a thumbs up if I can ask you questions. Thumbs up. Awesome. Cool. Now, I guess my first question: do you go to school?
Yes,
Yes, you go to
I
school.
did.
Awesome. Now, do you miss school?
Yes,
Yeah. Oh,
forever.
I know. I miss school too. And what do you miss about school? What's one? What's what's one thing you miss about school, bud?
What do you miss? What do you miss doing at
I
school?
love my
You
teachers.
love your teachers. That is awesome. How about friends? Do you have any friends that you miss? Yeah. That's cool, bud. That's cool.
Which ones do you miss?
Holly, that's my girlfriend.
You miss your girlfriend Hallie?
Oh, okay. Didn't know you had a girlfriend, but that's cool, bud. Awesome.
It's news to me too. Trust me.
Cool.
What's his
Now,
name?
do you like going to school at home?
Yes.
Yeah, you like going to school at home? What's your favorite thing about doing school at home?
Do my homework.
Doing your
That's
home?
all.
That's the only thing. Oh man, that's pretty cool. Now, do you understand why we can't go to school?
Because the germs are everywhere.
The
We want
germs,
to handful.
the germs are everywhere. That is correct. And does that make you sad? Does that make you happy? What do you feel?
It made me sad.
Oh man,
Forever.
but I'm sorry. Why does that make you sad?
Because the germs are everywhere.
Oh
Germs are
man,
everywhere.
germs are everywhere. Okay, cool. Alrighty, bud. Well, thank you very much for answering my questions. I really appreciate it.
What do you say, buddy?
Thank you.
I think the question is you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, bud. I'll talk to you later.
All right, you can go, bud.
Bye.
Thank you, bud. Love you. Can I have a kiss? Mwah. Thank you, bud. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Lord,
That
cool.
one was way better than I thought it would.
Awesome. No, thank you very much for letting me, able to document that, just some basic questions, on what they missed and all that stuff. But
No problem.
I guess going back to everything, what I guess what's one thing that you miss doing? Before, once all this stuff happened, what's one thing that you miss doing?
It's not. I don't think it's really just one thing. I think it was my daily routine.
Mhm.
I mean, it was a combination of everything that I did. I mean, I like doing things at a certain time, and I don't like change all that much. I don't really adapt well to change. It's rough on me.
Mhm.
I miss my daily routine.
Okay.
I miss, being able to go to the gym. I miss dropping the boys off at, school and taking Brendan to preschool and picking him up. And, I miss doing my normal grocery shopping. And I kind of, miss that, some moments where I can actually spend time with Blake, the baby, just me and him. I just kind of I miss, it's not one thing that I miss. I think
Okay.
it's kind of everything, and just that day-to-day routine that we had,
Mhm.
And trying to find a new one and actually kind of get settled into what is probably going to be the new normal for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I guess once this is all over, what's the one thing that you want to do? or what are the things that you want to do for yourself, for your family, for
um, probably give mom a big hug.
okay.
I think that's definitely one thing that I miss. I miss social interaction. Like I miss going, like I said, I miss going to the gym.
Mhm.
I miss interacting with people outside of the house. You know, not saying that, I don't like my family. I mean, I love my family, but there was another part of my life, that I did enjoy doing. It was able to help me, disconnect from everything and kind of relieve stress and all that other stuff. I
Right.
miss seeing them, miss seeing, my CrossFit family and the friends that I've made there.
Nice.
So I'm gonna hug the shit out of them, okay?
Cool. Now, is there, I guess, I know in the news, I asked mom this question too. We hear a lot, of the cases in COVID, because of the COVID-19, those infected with it. Do you know of anything like that? Do you know, like, how many cases there are in Ohio, et cetera, et cetera?
Um, I
Or, or,
think it was.
or do you keep
I
up with the
forget how
news?
much it was.
Uh-huh.
I try to keep up with it as best as I possibly can. Usually, I know usually, Governor DeWine, the governor of Ohio, gives a briefing every day at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Most of the time, I try to keep up with it. They'll usually the director of health, I think is Dr. Acton. She usually kind of gives us a scope of who's been infected, who's hospitalized, who's unfortunately passed away as well. I think it was pushing almost 3,000 cases.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If not, it's past 3,000 cases. Um, and just under 100 people have passed away from it.
Okay.
But there have been, I don't remember the number of people that have recovered from it, but it is significant. I think the youngest case was under 6 weeks of age, and the oldest case is 101. So it's a pretty broad range.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And I guess those are all the questions I have. But is there anything else that you want to mention, like life-wise? What is like pretty much anything? This is open now. This is like an open question essentially.
I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. It's just it's been it's it's kind of I've over the past few weeks I've kind of noticed that it's starting to change the way that we are living. I mean, not just short term but potentially long term. um Especially how we do our shopping, and how it's affecting other stores, like my job. Their retail store isn't open, so we'll see how that plays out in the near future and long term. But it's changed so much. It's changed how people live their day-to-day lives, and I think it's going to make a big impact in how they live their day-to-day lives after all this is said and done, and we're able to kind of live things as normal as possible. um I don't know, it's been weird. I
Okay.
mean, we have to make our shifts and change things and make things work to the best of our abilities, and it's not perfect, but it's something that we have to deal with. And I think that we can just kind of thank the Lord that John and I are as healthy as we possibly can be right now, thank the Lord. um and that the kids are doing okay, and, as best as they can,
Yeah.
between us teaching them and keeping them safe and keeping them healthy. Between all of that, it's as crazy as it is, they're okay. They're in one piece. I mean, I didn't kill them yet, so they're all right.
Cool. Now, I guess this is more of this is like my last question. This is more of an opinionated question. Now, what is your opinion on like the response time for Ohio, for this for this crisis?
That's a good question. So personally, I believe that compared to other states, compared to even something as close to as Michigan, our response
True.
has been it has been it's been drastic. They've done. I think the response time has been a lot quicker than a lot of other states, which I think um, has made a big difference as far as how many people have been infected. Um, but that's just dealing with how the government has responded. How people have responded, that's kind of a different story. I mean, I do see a lot of people day to day that don't take it as seriously,
Mhm.
and there's still people that think that it's kind of a hoax. But the way I see it, the way our local government is responding to it has been phenomenal.
Okay.
I think that they've made drastic changes to the way things are being run and how things are how they're trying to do their best to keep people safe, because they understand that the consequences of it are severe, not just for their economy, for the hospitals, for just it kind of ends up being a chain reaction essentially.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Those are all my questions. Essentially, if I ever do have any follow-up questions or any more questions in the near future, would I be able to contact you, via messenger, email, phone call, etc.? Cool
Yep.
beans. I guess I'll stop the recording. This is this again. This is my sister Felicia Castellanos in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Thank you very much, sis, for your time, for letting me record you and take this, take document this and stuff. But let me stop the recording.